So I'm just going to burn a little sage too while you're doing that.
Please do. Hello everyone. I'm Krasi, and with me is the medicine man, Joe Greenland. And I have really the pleasure that Joe accepted my invitation. You know already Joe Greenland. Joe, people in your past the past interviews that we made, the comments were amazing. People were amazed by your talents and your spiritual knowledge. So thank you very much for accepting my invitation again. And this time I want to talk with you, and I invited with this very purpose, about 2020. We all know the celestial events which will be taking place. Saturn is entering sidereal Capricorn. With this, Saturn will bring changes into the world with small steps. Saturn doesn't hurry. But after the spring, of 2020, when Saturn becomes visible, changes step by step will be taking place all over the world. Then we will be having Saturn and Pluto conjunction in January, which conjunction is already taking place and which conjunction is not considered auspicious, especially if we look at past events. I'll give you a moment, Joe. So Joe, how do you see these events? And especially, I told you, I know you follow astrology, you know that these are very important events which always change the world. How do you see this from your perspective as medicine man, as shaman? And also I'll ask you further about specific events that are a little bit, that are not auspicious. But let's say first, in general, how do you see this from your point of view, energetically?
For me, energetically on the native, the way I always look at things that as I grew up, my grandfather always talked to me about stuff, and he would say stuff about the future and different things. So in my life, I read really lots of different things. I looked at prophecy, I looked at all sorts of things, trying to understand the coming changes and how to be in harmony, why all the cultures around the world had different prophecies and saw things in different ways. And even the natives and the medicine men, when they did ceremonies, some of the people in the past that I would work with, the stuff that we would see and stuff the universe or the earth mother would share with us. And the ancient cultures, they all knew the cycles of the earth. They all knew the different places where there's big transitions, like even with astrology, you're an astrologer, like you said, with Saturn and Pluto going on. And supposedly Pluto is going to really shift, and Saturn, which is supposed to bring in this new age of Aquarius, everybody's talking about. Nobody really knows where it starts or all kinds of stuff. Everybody's got different thoughts and beliefs. But my grandfather, when I was a small boy, we used to sit and sometimes he'd do prayers and that and ask to see to give me answers. And when I was a little boy, he would say, the animals and the plants are already preparing for the future for when the time changes. And he would point at plants and that, and he would tell me that they're already crossing their genes, they're already doing things to make sure their genes survive into the future. And nowadays, if you look up on the computer with the scientists, you can look at the polar bears and other bears along the Arctic Ocean region, and you'll see the polar bear has crossbred with the black bears and the grizzlies. And so they're seeing these really strange looking bears. And my granddad always said that the animals and plants and the earth mother is in alignment with the universe for these changes. And so now all of this is being proven. What he told me, that's like nearly over 40 years ago, when I was a small little boy, he would tell me these things and try to help me to understand. And then a lot of people with the Bible, they distort Revelations. In Revelations, a guy over 2,000 years ago was shown things, and it got recorded and placed there. And supposedly it was some guy in Greece, and he had all these visions, and then they recorded and somehow they placed it in the Bible. And there's a lot of things that got changed because they didn't have the language that we use nowadays in their language. They use certain things that they understood that was devastating. Now we got a whole other way of understanding things. But with you, you were bringing up David Icke. I remember when David Icke's books came out in the 90s.
Joe, let me, because we spoke about this before the recording, just let me explain again what my question was. My question was to you. This was, the general question was about Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn-Pluto conjunction, but specifically, we have this case which is happening now, that they are placing satellites in the sky, which are basically meant to control humanity and to rule the 5G network. And these satellites will be like hiding the real constellations. And instead of seeing the natural real sky, we'll be seeing these satellites which will form like constellations. We will see artificial sky, so to say. And up until now, they installed on sky about hundreds of satellites, and already many astronomers all over the world are shutting down observatories because they cannot observe the sky properly, and people are really complaining. And they're planning until end of 2020 to install another 42 or 43, I forgot, 43,000 satellites in orb around Earth, which would totally be hiding the real constellations which we astrologers and astronomers are observing every day. So you can imagine what is happening. And if this Saturn Pluto conjunction will be bringing this, I wonder what you think.
Yeah, like I was saying, that David Icke, I remember when his book started coming out in the 90s, and lots of people were talking to me about it. So I started buying all his books and reading them.
Yes, me
And
too.
then there was some very, very scary things that he revealed about stuff that went on the planet. And those things have always been there. The universe uses certain people. I always say everybody does something, whether they're a positive or a negative. And some people, they just channel and they get all this knowledge and information. The universe gives it to them and they will share it with the world. The universe is not about scaring people. The universe is about trying to give you an answer. So if this is something that's really going to happen, then there's a way. The universe will also provide a way to counter anything that's negative. There's a positive. Uh, I know a lot of people, I have friends that are really focused on 5G. I tell them, if you want to understand about 5G, there's two books. They're called Angels Don't Play This Harp. And it's HR or HARP. It's the harp machine.
Hard.
And in there, it explains really lots of stuff about the harp machine. And it's not angelic because it's not really a harp. It's a machine that puts
Oh,
energy
yeah.
in the air and stuff. So with these satellites also, them, whatever they're doing around the planet, it's sort of disconnecting, like you said, with the stars and with other kinds of things. It's interfering with things. But also when they do these kinds of things, there are people who are asking the universe, well, how do we fix this? How do we counter this? And the universe will help people to create or discover new things. So we'll find a new way of looking at the stars. And whatever is trying to block us, some way we will have something given to us to counter it, so we still can be able to do what we're supposed to do. Uh, uh, and I was talking about, like, with the Ike thing, I always felt the universe it was his soul journey to come in to do this, and he's following his path. And these books have gotten to a lot of people, but people read things to focus on the fear. And we have to read things to go, okay, there is this thing going on, but if I have my path, it's like you're an astrologer, and with astrology, there's things you can discover and learn, and you can figure things out and get places. It's like I always tell people, if you know there's going to be an earthquake in Vancouver in Canada, and you know it's going to happen around a certain time, don't go and live there. Go and live somewhere else where you know you're safe and you won't be affected by the earthquake. If you know there's going to be a big war in a certain part of the earth, then don't go there and put yourself in the middle of it where you might get hurt or get killed. So prophecies and all these things that go on the earth are just to help people to understand. If you have this knowledge, you can also find the knowledge how to survive. And the universe will give it to you. I always tell people, try to remote view. Try to see what your future is. Try to ask the universe to help you to see different kinds of things so you can help people and help yourself instead of being afraid. Um, like more and more people are becoming aware of remote viewing in the native culture. Lots of the natives, they do a thing called a vision quest, where we go up in the mountains and we pray and we ask to see our path. We ask to see some things that we need to know on our path as we're going into the future. So we're up there and we pray and we do things, and then we have these things shown to us. So as we're going walking our path, we see these different things and we know how to deal with them. So we're not afraid. Um, I know the Jews, they have a ceremony where they go out in the desert, but they go out there for a whole month, and it's like a vision quest where they pray and they pray and they pray and they ask the Creator to show them things to help them so they can move forwards and how to survive through things. And there's all these things, but we're not taught this. The earth keeps trying to push, I mean, the planet and whatever's on the planet that's trying to keep people afraid, they keep bombarding us. So we're always being pulled in different ways to look at the fear instead of going, well, I'm tired of that. I want to find all the answers because I want to help people. So this is part of something I've been doing most of my life. When I do ceremony, I do different things. I always pray for the earth. I always pray that people get their answers, people in their dreams or however they get shown things, because everybody has that deja vu. It's like, oh, I already know this.
Yeah.
So somewhere the universe gave you that awareness inside. So when this came up, it didn't scare you, it didn't frighten you. You're like, whoa, I knew all of that even before it happened. So the Creator is always trying to help us. The Indians and the Vedics and the Chinese, they know there's a 60,000 year cycle or a 120,000 year cycle. Kali and Shiva, I think, is every 60,000 years they come in and there's a cleansing and a purifying. So they're about removing anything that's old and rebuilding the new. And they're not really scary. When you understand Kali and Shiva and you understand they come in at this time and they help the earth and the planet to heal and change. And there's other things like that. So when you know these things and you start working with it, you start working with everything. Like I have friends who don't believe that the earth is getting warmer, that the planet has shifted. So the magnetic pole that used to be here now is, they say it's more over in Russia now. So the planet is wobbling. The scientists have known this since 1960, and they have a name for the wobble. I can't remember what it's called, but they know the whole Earth. And the ice that used to be there, like really, really heavy, was a counterweight. But the more it gets less, the more the Earth wants to do this. And they know the Earth can turn this way or just roll. From all the knowledge and everything the last 20 years, I've been going to ceremonies and talking to people and going to different things. The Earth Mother has been working. So when she rolls, she's doing a really gentle roll. She's not trying to flip
Oh yeah.
right over and do really lots to cause things. But the universe has always given us answers ahead of time. We have all these different answers. It's just wanting the universe to bring you that answer so you can feel at peace and know that these things we're going to get through them. And there's different books that have been channeled, because in the 1960s channeling became really, really big, and there was a lot of knowledge come through, but people didn't understand it. We didn't understand the energy. We didn't understand where we were getting to. And this transition at 2012, everybody thought was either the end of the world or was going to be the dawning of Aquarius. The Mayans, 5,000, 3,000 years ago, when they had their calendar, they could do star charts 3,000, 5 years in, or 5,000 years into the future. So they forecasted all of this, but then they got to this energy, and because it's all new and it's not part of the old energy, they couldn't see past this new energy. All they can see was the children. They call them the children of the corn, because they had a really, really golden glow around them in their auric fields and their energy. I think it's in the Chinese and some of their prophecies. They talk about the crystal children or the rainbow children, because they could see all their energies as really bright rainbow energetics. And these were things that the universe showed them. And at that point, they couldn't cross into the future. Lots of people say, oh, we're going into the fifth dimension. It's really lots of new energy, and these are transition points, and they open up. In that, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of different things, and one side tries to control the other side. But I always say the creator has been doing this for hundreds of billions of years. He's done it with the Pleiades, he's done it with Ceres, he's done it with so many other galaxies and planets, and he's been at it for longer than we can even comprehend. And he's going to win in the end. All the good is going to
In
come
the
out.
end, until he wins in the end.
Yes.
How, what kind, these the things that are happening, aren't they happening with the permission of the creator? Because
Yes.
I believe he could interfere and stop it, right? But he isn't,
Yes.
obviously.
But the thing is, they said 100,000 years ago, everybody on the planet, my granddad would tell me this, is all the people on the planet agreed to this. Like a long time ago. That's why everything is playing out the way it is, and everybody agreed in one way or another how they would do it. And he says it was even like when the Europeans came to this continent and ended up doing like everything that happened to the natives and everything. He says you can't hate them. He says we already agreed upon this. He says the natives could see way into the future. They had medicine people and healers and that knew all of this stuff was coming. But we didn't stop it because we knew it all had to happen. And he said in the future, he says the children are they're gonna wake up, they're gonna become warriors, and they're gonna heal all of these hardships that went on, and then they're gonna teach the world. And he says my journey was really hard, but somewhere in all my learning, somehow I was gonna help everybody on the planet. And he says you can't get mad at anybody because this was some kind of agreement. And then when you fully understand it, then you can work with that energy and you can help other people understand. Because the whole idea inside me is I always try to look into the future to try to find answers that are positive. I can focus like everybody else and look for all the scary, fearful things and just live afraid. Doesn't do me any good.
No, no, it's destructive. But Joe, it is destructive. But since the is this um, would there be this possibility that this it stays on the way between people and our connection with the creator, with our higher selves? Because obviously we're having something, artificial intelligence, which will stay between us and the stars, and it will certainly be on the way. Do you agree with me? How do you see this?
Um, Years ago, I came across some books. They're written by Lee Carroll, and he's channeled a lot of information. He's also an engineer, and through his channelings, and he channeled a being called Cryon, the Magnetic Master. And Cryon is talking about all these things and the energies, and in it, Cryon is talking about the earth. The earth, they know her energy vibrates out about 7 hertz. She generates an energy that sustains and supports everything, about 7 hertz. And he says, as we go into this higher energy, which is a fifth dimension, the energy is going to start building up to 11 hertz. So people like you and me and that, we're going to be on a higher frequency. So whatever they're doing with man-made technology will not interfere with what you're doing, because your energy is going to speed up to that point where whatever is on the earth, that energy is going to be down here and you're going to be up here. And in the books of Cryon, he talks about how the universe is already assisting the earth and the people that are going to be in the future, that our DNA, our energy, even the way our minds think and how we connect to the universe. Because if you're in a fifth dimension and you can say orange and it just appears in your hand, then what you're doing with energy and knowledge is way faster. And in the third dimension, we can't do that. There's a limit. Like some people can manifest and make things happen and materialize, but they say in the fifth dimension, you're going to even be able with your mind, like take a crystal and grow a crystal house with just your mind.
Oh,
And this crystal will literally grow and you will have your house. Whatever you want that house to look like or be, that crystal, when you link with it, it will just grow that for you. And it will be very rapid and fast.
that's wonderful.
So they say these things that are in our future and are part of the fifth dimension is it's we're on this side of that energy and we're slowly people who really are meant to be a part of that are slowly moving in there. And I always say that's already in your DNA, that's already in your energy fields. When you were born, you programmed that into yourself. So when the time is right, you'll just activate it. You'll just be able to work with the energy. You'll just be able to do whatever it is you need to. It's like when you got your program and you get new astrology information and then you download it into your computer. When you turn on your computer, now it can do all these new things. Well, we have that sort of system in our bodies and that too, that will work with these higher new energies. But basically, I always tell people in my meditations and that you got to give permission for it. You got to allow and tell your body and cells and that it's okay to let this new energy in. So your vibration will go higher and higher and higher. Your connection to the creator will get bigger and stronger too. The channelings, the knowledge, everything you do. When you ask for, well, what is it I need to know that's going to help me? And just trust the universe. Somewhere, we all know there's no random things that just happen. Everything has a purpose, and when we ask, the universe will bring us something, or somebody will show up and share knowledge, or somehow somebody will come along and say, "Have you read this book?" And then once you read it, you go, "Wow, here's all my answers." The universe has many ways. Throat keeps getting closed off.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Keep trying to open it back up and then it closes. Um,
It's okay. Take your
so,
time. Yes.
so that's one of the things. I spent really, really lots of time searching out channeled books because I had lots of fears. After I read David Icke, I went to quite a bit of fear for a while. And I'm like, well, if this is really going on and happening and all this stuff, because I started understanding more stuff about the Bible and prophecy, and I kept looking more into prophecies from many cultures and different things, and talking to elders and stuff, and just asking the universe to help me try to understand. So in my journey and my path, that I'm able to help people, that's all I've ever wanted to do in my life. And my granddad always said I was here to help people, so I've always prayed to be able to do that. And like I say, J.J. Hurtak, I think it is, that wrote Urantia. Him and
Ah,
another guy.
yeah, Urantia. I don't know who wrote it, but Urantia is a very.
Yeah, with J.J. Hurtak, he channeled part, and there was this other guy, and they put it all together and they created Urantia. Towards the end of Urantia, there's a lot of different answers in there too. Same with the Keys of Enoch. In the Keys of Enoch, they talk about the light and the dark and what we're learning on the planet and how things are going to change and we're going to go into the future. And I just want to go and get 3 books really quickly.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
For me, like I said, I got very scared at a point in my life where I was reading IKEA, I was reading a lot of stuff that was coming out. There was a lot of those different programs where you can watch and they tell you, you know, the UFO's this or this is what's going on here and there. And like everybody was into it. And I was like, but there's got to be an answer where there's positive. And at the time, Dolores Cannon put these books out.
Ah, yes, she's great, Dolores Nostradamus.
So,
Yes.
and these are channeled from people under hypnosis. There's three of them. And these are the books that really, really gave me answers. It really explained a lot about prophecies and other kinds of things. And it talked about stuff where we're at now. And in here, it has astrology charts and other kinds of things, forecasting. And just a minute, if I could find that one I wanted to share.
Dolores
And
Cannon, yes.
And she's like, if people understand, then they could use this knowledge. Like, and through Nostradamus, like this is his Vedic chart,
All right. Mm-hmm. Okay,
and this
yes.
is in book 2. And then there's a Western chart. And he says, if you know how to read astrology, he says you could see this and you'll understand. You will figure some things out. And so he used an astrologer, and in here it explains really lots of stuff. There's a lot of scary stuff in here about things that are going to go on. He talks about the heart machines. He talks about all the different energies and the satellites and everything. And he talks about there's a guy in here they call Ogmius. And this guy, they're going to later on realize he's a genius. And he's going to help the counter and assist the people of light to get through all of whatever the negative forces are doing. And it explains a lot of things in there, that new developments, new kinds of things. He talks about the age of Aquarius and all these amazing kinds of things. And he says in there that the earth is going to go on for a very long time. And in towards the end there, this one person that was under hypnosis went 10,000 years into the future and talks about stuff about the planet and things we're going to do. And this person was on a spaceship going to another galaxy and another world to learn all this stuff from the people there. And she was a young girl, and she was going to learn all this stuff, and then she was going to come back to the planet and teach everybody on the planet about all these amazing new things from this other
Mm-hmm.
world. And this book really encouraged me because, like I say, I spent a lot of my life reading and searching and trying to figure out like different things. Like even when I would go to the temple in Edmonton, the Tibetan temple for Buddhism, is in the natives we do chants and prayers and things, and we have these visions and different things in sweat lodges and ceremonies. And in the Tibetan Buddhism, they teach you different kinds of meditations. Like they'll teach you to do a chant and focus on something. Like maybe they'll get you to read a story, and then the Lama will teach you. He'll say, "Well, we're going to go into meditation and ask to receive your answers. What this means to you."
Oh,
So
okay.
as you're going into the meditation, you're asking this, and then you get shown or told these things. And there's always energies around trying to help people to be in a more happy, not focusing so much on the fear and other kinds of things, because that's the distraction. They want us to stay afraid. And I started reading Blavatsky and Bailey from 1890 or something like that, Rudolf Steiner. And
Yes.
way back in that time, they were channeling stuff about the future too. They said it was the Enlightenment times or whatever, when Rudolf Steiner and all these people were coming together and they were bringing all this knowledge in. And they were given real lots of information. And this was to help the future. But all the governments and all the different whatever on the planet, they knew all of this. They know all of this stuff is there. But I'm like, why didn't they teach us this in school? Why don't they give us these answers? Because all they want to do is keep us afraid, basically. Because
Yes,
then we can't have the answer, right? Doesn't
yes.
help us when we're
You
afraid.
stay in the lower vibrations and you really cannot. But do you see now these changes in a positive way happening? People really to be able to, like what you said, to get the right answers, or to be able to really to go into this higher level, higher vibrational level which you mentioned, so that we can escape indeed these dangerous um, artificial intelligence influences and whatever they are. They are not only this, there are many. Do you see
Yeah,
this from your, because you see energies, you have very good perception of energies. Do you see this really happening? Do you see change from what you were seeing like 20 years ago and now? Because now the times are like fastened, things are happening very fast, and the changes are happening. The times are just like fastened. What we had uh, happening like 15 years ago, now the same things are happening in a fastened way. Like you see, the time has different measurements, so to say, right? Am I right? do
yes,
you, do you see it same way? Yeah.
exactly. And more people is like things are like they said one time. It says if you do something wrong, it could take years and years and years and even lifetimes before that karma would come back. And nowadays, it's like really, really fast. The
Now
energy goes
boom, yes, you
and
get it.
a day or a couple of days later, something has come back to you already. It's goes around so quickly. It's doesn't need those long times. It's just like trying to get you to realize not to do this and change it. I see the changing as I see more and more people waking up. The biggest ones I keep praying is one of the prophecies is the native people have to decide to wake up and give all their knowledge to the world. And this was a really big thing when I was a little boy. My granddad told me, he says, all this knowledge, it all came from the creator and it belongs to every man, woman, and child on the planet, no matter what their race or belief is. He says the natives, they have things that's going to help the whole planet. And the natives have to wake up and want to give it to the world because the world needs to use it. And there are people out there going to understand and use it right. And more, like when we do our sun dances, where I do my Sundance in southern Alberta, and the people at a Sundance with, most of the Sundancers are European. We got Sundancers that are German. We got a guy from Switzerland. We got people from Denmark. We got people from
Amazing.
Mallorca. We got people from uh, different parts of Germany and those
Wonderful.
areas, and they're all sun dancers. When you go to the sun dancers, there's more European people than there are natives, and they respect
Wonderful.
and honor it more. And they're trying to take this knowledge and share it and help other people to learn to come back into this way to connect with the earth mother, to because there's life in everything. The trees, they got a life force, the plants, the rocks, everything was created by the great mystery, and it all has knowledge, it all has teachings. And so if we can all go back into this, uh, people will change this planet a lot faster. They'll realize how we all are just part of a big ball. In my language, we say, I am Gwich'in. Gwich'in means just a child of the earth. And my granddad just told me that. He says, we're all just children of the earth. He says, no matter what part of the world, our bodies come from the earth, from the plants, from everything. And our soul comes in and we wear this. In the natives, we say our bodies are like robes. Sometimes I tell people it's like a spacesuit. And so when you understand this, people are waking up there. They know something inside is not there, and they're trying to find these answers. When I hold my meditations and do things, people always come and ask me, and I try to tell them to look at the positive more and more and more. Try to see the positive. Try to ask for a way that maybe you can help the planet. And all these young children I'm seeing, lots of them already see and know the future. Lots of them already know they're going to be in the future. They're going to be doing things. Lots of them are already channeling and they're not afraid of the universe and the spirits. They already have that energy in them. They're already a part of the future, the fifth dimension in that. They already know things. They know how they're going to change a planet. Um, and it's trying to help them. And my granddad always told me, he says, in the future, man has to give all the power back to the woman and children. He says, it's this planet is not man's. He says, look at yourself. He says, your mom over there, you came from her, not from your dad. Your dad is a part of it, but the governments and the churches and that, they all have to let go. They got to let everything go back to the woman and children. He says, without the woman and children, there's no future. And he
Yes.
says, the biggest thing is man has to realize and gift and bless the woman and children so we can all decide to change the planet. And he said one thing, he said, in the future, he says, when the woman and children decide to come together and they decide and they pray, this whole planet is going to change. God is going to hear them and he's going to change it. And
That is
that's
so
what he told me. He
wonderful.
says, always remember that.
That is so wonderful. So
And I believe
wonderful.
that. And my
I
partner, I
believe that.
always can encourage her. I always try to get her to understand, to learn knowledge, to learn things, to try to find positive answers to help people. And I says, you, with the knowledge you gain and the things you do, you will attract people. You will help people. They will come to you. And you need to be a leader. You need to want to stand up and walk and not look behind afraid, but look into the future and say, we're going to get in the future and we're going to change it. And this is my biggest prayer all the time, that the woman starts standing up and saying, no more, no more. The children and the future, we're going to have those answers. We're going to come together all over the planet. It's like if you look at India, in some of their villages now, all the women are getting together. And if a man abuses a girl or a woman, they all go and they pound that man up now. They will not let him do that anymore. They're
Yes.
starting to stop and change all of that. So the creator is making this happen all over the world. He's starting to empower the woman. The women need to realize they're very intelligent. They're very smart. You guys are creators. You're manifesting forces, and you guys are always just tapped into creator. You're always channeling. You're always doing things, and you're just in that energy. And it's just learning to trust and know how to use it, and bringing children together and try to get them to realize that's important for them. Whatever, when they're born on this planet, whatever they see will be real, to encourage them and help them to find people to, because we all need to look up to somebody. When I grew up in my community, there was a lot of dysfunctions and things, and then the residential school and all sorts of stuff. I always tried to look around for somebody to look up to. And the only one that I really could look up to was my granddad. And he would teach me things and show me things. It was very private. Like, he told me not to let lots of people know because they didn't understand. And sometimes I would share things and I would scare people. And when I was about 7 years old, he says, you have to stop this because people are really afraid of you, because when you say things, they come true.
Oh,
And I didn't realize it was channeling. Nowadays, we call it channeling, and we want somebody to channel information, or we want to understand how to look in an astrology chart so we know things that are going to happen or different things. And people are more accepting to this. There's still some cultures that are very superstitious and very afraid. One of the things in my life of learning is we have to let go of superstition. We have to let go of these things because it sort of holds us down here. It sort of limits us to how much bigger we can become. I always say you can't limit God. If God can create other worlds and galaxies and beings and all kinds of stuff, we can't put him in a small little box and limit him. We have to realize there's so much more bigger, and we got to ask God to make us really big. In the Bible, Joshua ben Joseph, later they called him Jesus, 300 years after he died, they created the Bible from all the scrolls, and they decided to give him the name Jesus. But in there, he is talking about when he was on the planet. He says, I am not from here. He says, I am from out there. And it's in the Bible. And he says, I am from Jerusalem. It's another galaxy beyond Sirius. And it is a higher world. And he says, I am from there. He says, I came here to be a teacher to help the planet. And he says, an energy came from out there, came into me like a white dove, and made me become this. So he is saying the stuff that comes is from the universe and it comes in, and people will have this energy. And he says in the Bible too that in the future, people will have the armor. The creator will give you an energy, will give you things that will protect you from even negative stuff. And it says these things in the Bible. And like I say, there's lots and lots of books out there that were channeled that have really, really good information to help us understand. We're all going to get in the future. The universe is not going to give permission for, like I say, the negative is like a cancer. If you look at cancer, eventually it just destroys its own self.
Oh
And if
yeah.
you're focusing on the positive, you're going to find all those answers. And if you start listening to the children, talking to the children and asking them to help you, because some of them, they can tell you all about the future. They already know they're going to be there. They already know they're going to create the new Eden. And they say all the children and the people that are going to be on the planet in the future are the new Adams and Eves. And we're going to have a whole new Eden. We're going to make this world so beautiful again in the age of Aquarius, the 1,000 years of enlightenment and peace and love and all these good things. It's right there.
Yes, but age of Aquarius, you know, we're still in the age of Pisces because we have 5 degrees to go. If you
Yeah.
multiply each degree times 72 years, because this is how you count them, 5 times 72, it's approximately 360 years to go until we enter the age of Aquarius. So we will not be alive to see actually what's going to happen.
Yeah, but
But
I believe somehow the universe can speed things up too. And
yes,
like I say, we can start stepping in that. It might be that far away. And in the Hopi and a lot of the natives, we say we're in the purifying times. And everything is going to get purified. Anything that's not positive and not benefiting the earth and the planet and the creator and all of the other universes and galaxies, because somehow whatever we're doing also affects them. So we say we're in the purifying times, and whatever is old that needs to go and whatever new is going to come in is going to help us into the future. And lots of the old prophecies stop to a certain point, but they just know there's something really big past that point. And many elders and medicine people I sat with over the years, they were given different visions and they would share it with me. And I believe all these things are going to come in. And like I say, it's just wanting to believe in the good instead of putting so much energy and focus into all this other stuff. Because I know when I get in that and it pulls me down and it just takes away. And it's like, sometimes people are just like, well, why do I want to live? Why do I want to get up and do these things? And so I'm always praying and asking, well, how can I get an answer? How can I just even sit with a person and make them realize that there's going to be beauty in the future and we are going to get through this no matter what David Icke or anybody else says on the
it's
planet.
it's not about being afraid, or it's not about scaring people. The thing is, this is fact, and the cancer cells can also kill the body entirely. The body, you see, that is the point. And I know when you look at the past, end of ages, end of times, like every cycle of 2005, like every civilization which was gone, which disappeared, like the Roman civilization or Atlantis, many Mayas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I my research, it's not my opinion, but why they disappeared is lack of love. And then they just go to, like, the oxygen is gone and they cannot survive, like what is happening all over the world now. We have lack of moral values, lack of love. People live only for the, most of the people for the material part of this matrix that we live in. So I don't know. You see, the thing is that this time now, with Saturn entering Capricorn, Saturn Pluto conjunction, to me it was like a decision time whether we people will choose indeed to either to choose love, like what the soul needs only, and not material choices, or it can be really the end of these civilizations. It's not a miracle. It happened many times before. It happened with the Romans. It happened with the Mesopotamians. The Babylon. Where is Babylon? It's gone. Where are the Romans? It's gone. It's just like that. um, why they're gone? Always lack of love, and the society would lose the oxygen, and the soul cannot. I think what my own research you see. So I don't know what you think about this. So either it can be cancerous, and the cells will eat themselves and be gone, and the body will survive, or this will kill the body.
Yes, and that's where you look at the negative forces, because that energy, if the Earth is going to move up to 11 hertz up here, vibrating so high, this lower energy will have no way of connecting or affecting what's up here. And this is where down here that energy won't be sustainable. And it's like even gas in a car. After a while, that tank goes empty and the motor will never start again.
Yeah.
And whatever is sustaining and making this happen right now, whatever they're doing, the energy is going to get to a point where it's all going to burn out. And no matter what they do, it's going to stop. And this is different things. And like I say, the universe is still trying to channel information or trying to get clear channels. That's where sometimes when I'm trying to help people, I have to be careful on how I say things, because people want to hear something and then it gets twisted and changed really fast.
Yes. Yes. I know.
And it's like in astrology. In astrology, like Pisces is 2,300 years. In Aquarius, I think it's like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Aries, I think what 3,000 years or something like that. They all got a certain time frame. They all work. Once we were finished with Aries, we went into Pisces. Pisces is coming to an end, and then Aquarius is going to open up for 1,000 years. And I think Capricorn is the longest sign, right? Or am I wrong?
It, well, you divide the great God's ear, which is approximately 25,600 years, you divide it into the 12 signs, and then you have equal, approximately equal duration of each era. It is mini era, because you have the great year, which is 25,000 something years, when you know the earth is turning around its axis, one complete turn, it's 25,600 roughly years, which can be a little bit changed now due to the different wobbling of the earth and all these details, which we don't know. But equally, when you divide it by 12, you got 2,000 approximately something years. What the difference that you're mentioning has to do with the different timing of the rising of this. You have short rising zodiacal signs and long rising, indeed. Some on the eastern horizon would rise for a very long time, others shorter. Indeed, this is relevant what you're saying, but in general, how they look at these ages is they just divide it into 12.
Yeah, because when I looked at my astrology chart, because I was born so high up in the Arctic, and some of them are really, really big, and some of them are really tiny, and it's like going through this one sign, it's like forever, but these other ones are
Yeah,
so squashed, it's like really fast.
true, true,
And
yeah.
it's very, very confusing trying to read and look at that. So you try to find a chart that can open up where all of them are even, then you can sort of see how things move.
That's
I've
true,
always
yeah.
tried to figure that out in astrology. I spent a lot of years trying to figure it out. Still haven't quite, but I looked into the Vedic. I think in the Vedic, they believe it's every 60,000 years. And they say one revolution is 120,000 years to go clean around like the solar system or whatever, from this point around to this point. So when we leave here, we get to this point, that's 60,000 years or something, and then we come back. I was looking at a lot of different things. Like I say, some of it I didn't fully understand. Um, it's just trying to find books and figure things out on your own. And I know there's scientific proof even on the earth, like the earth goes through certain phases, and they know this. They even know there's a certain point on the earth where she heats up, and it's a proven thing, and it's been proven by scientists all over the world that at every certain, whether they call it an epoch or anything, the earth does go to a certain point where it gets really warm and then it readjusts itself again. uh, I've always looked at this fact when you're looking at science and that we're a ball spinning in the earth. The center is here. If you took a plastic bag and you put a big heavy weight in the center and you spun a ball around the outside, eventually it's going to come into the center.
Yes.
The earth, the earth slowly gravitates towards the sun, and it's a natural thing. It's just like anything, and the magnetic point is coming towards the sun. Anything that's out here eventually is going to come closer and closer to the sun. And in the Bible, there is a place in the Bible where it says, in the end times, God gives the power to the sun to scorch the earth. So basically, it's saying it goes through a heating cycle. And scientists have questioned that. And they have searched, they've dug into the earth, and they have proven they can literally say this is, and they say we're at this point in the earth. And so when we don't have the information, we just believe whatever they tell us.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I'm always searching, just like you. It's like learning cuneiform and learning all these ancient languages. Like I wanted to learn Sanskrit because I want to be able to read Sanskrit. So when I look at these old scrolls, I can go, yes, this is what it says, not somebody telling me what it says.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. So
And
they
about,
to avoid manipulation, of course.
yes. And like I say, when you really look at everything, people have to really start paying attention to the children, because the children are starting to realize where the earth is at. It's not sustainable, and we have to go back to harmony. We have to go back to something. And you're starting to see where these children are standing up and speaking, and they're even challenging the governments and everything. And they're trying to get the adults and other people to pay attention and come together in some way. And there's going to be a lot of different things going on the planet where people are going to finally decide we're going to come together and with the woman and the children, and we're going to decide and we're going to stop and change all of this. And it will happen. The Creator will bless it. The Earth Mother, she's slowly trying to create and make everything as gentle as possible from everything that I understand. There's also universal brothers and sisters that have higher knowledge and they're from other worlds that will be able to help in different ways. They're not going to come in and stop anything. They're going to be
Joe,
there to help in different ways.
so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. In this regard, because I know that you are making group meditations, and I know I'm planning to join in the future. But I know that you're making. I've seen videos of your meditations, and they're amazing. Because I know that you're also channeling. This has to do with our topic. What I want to ask you. So you are a group of people and you are meditating in a very harmonious way, from what I've seen, and then you're trying to channel information. Is there something specific related to our conversation that you channeled recently in
Uh,
relation to what is happening with the earth? What is something that would give us good feeling and hope?
mm, there's so much different information, and this is where
I know,
everybody
yes.
take
Yes.
it different, right? Um, all I know is what you're saying about Saturn and Pluto and everything being in Capricorn is really, really trying to get everybody to choose something, and it's trying to
Yes.
wake us all up and all make decisions. And the universe listens because there's an energy on the earth that generates out that the universe can feel and know. And it was like even that 9/11 when that building blew up and everything sort of, the whole building fell down. the universe felt the energy of the planet. Everybody went into compassion and love and started
Well,
praying.
but this was very sad. It was orchestrated, you know, this was
Yes,
orchestrated event. It was allowed by the universe to happen.
yes. And it wanted to see where man was, and people really went into praying. It really, really, it
Yes,
changed
true.
something on the planet. It opened a doorway for some more energy to come in, and then people decided to go back to sleep again.
Yeah,
And this is where everybody in the native culture, we say there's sleepers, there's wisdom keepers, there's healers, there's all kinds of different people, and a majority of the planet of the people want to stay asleep.
that's the
There's a
thing. That's the
majority that are going to wake up and they're going to be in the future. And this is something everybody is looking at. And like I say, there's a belief inside, there's an energy inside. We all have a language that connects us to the creator and the universe and all kinds of divine things. And if we open that up and open our hearts, we can receive and see really lots of good things.
So
You
nothing
know,
can be on the way. If we want to be connected, if we want to connect with the creator, there is no such thing that there is there are obstacles to connect. Like it is just our desire, right? It's there are no obstacles, there are no layers which are in between us and the creator. So if we want, we can connect. Is it so?
yes. And there's too many distractions. There's too many kinds of things that want to pull your this way
That's
and
the
that
thing. That's
way.
what I want to ask you. Yeah.
And when you're meditating and channeling, you have to learn how to trust what's being shown to you. In the past, when I used to get shown things, sometimes they used to scare me. At times I didn't understand them. So I had to learn how to be patient. I'm like, okay, if I'm getting shown this, then there's a reason for it. And sometimes we may get a glimpse of something, and a lot of people will stop. They will stop trying to channel or meditate in that because they get afraid of things. And if you're getting shown something, there's a reason for it, and there's also an answer to the positive. And the more you learn how to trust that intuition or inner voice or whatever you want to give it a name, or even how you, most people don't want to use the word God because they just look, it just makes them look at the churches and all kinds of stuff. And
Hmm.
they're trying to find new ways, but we all have that connection to creator, whether we want to accept it or not.
Isn't it thinner now? Didn't it become thinner, the connection with God? Like you would read in some places that it's like the connection became so thin. It's almost so that we don't feel it anymore. The,
Yes, but that's where inside you, when you open your heart and your truth and you really trust this, even how thin it gets, you're going to still be connected. Nothing can disconnect you ever. And that's the one thing is this energy that sustains all the worlds and lives and galaxies and everything. It's don't matter how thin and fine, we are still connected. And we have to open up and trust that. And that's where the universe is trying to bring everybody in all of this. There are people that are going to go inside and they're just going to know and they're going to trust. And the universe is going to get them to do all kinds of stuff. Like I say, those Lee Carroll books were really interesting. I can't remember which book it is, but he was explaining that in the future, people who are in this 5D, or not 5D, but the fifth dimension energy, he says they're going to do all kinds of things and people are going to be really come afraid of them because the creator is going to allow them to do all kinds of amazing things. And he says even if all of them are figuring on a way to try to do harm, and he created a little thing. He says there's a stadium that can hold 170,000 people, and he says you have to go there and you got to do a talk. So you go to the stadium and you're standing in the center and you realize it's full. There's 170,000 people there, and their intention is to harm you, but you know this. And the creator says you have to tell them and channel all this information. And he says, and all you think in your mind is everybody's going to freeze. And he says, as soon as you do that, the universe, and then everybody's just sitting there. He says, you walk out of the stadium, you get in your car, and you drive away. And he says, if you think they freeze for 3 hours, everybody's just going to sit there for 3 hours, and then the energy is going to be gone. You're going to be gone and safe. He says, again, people who are in this new energy are going to do really lots of amazing things, and they're not going to know if these people are aliens or devils or this and that, and they're not going to get sick. Their energy is going to be really high, and no matter what goes on, the universe is going to allow this energy, and it's very protective in that. And they're really, really exciting books. They really made me happy when I read them.
Oh,
And these were things that were channeled to help people to know that people who are connected to the fifth dimension and in the future, they're going to have these energies. They're going to, one of the other ones I use in the Bible, when the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the three guys, Herod threw them in the fire, right? And he took these three guys, and Herod had this big fire, and he said, throw them in the fire. So they got thrown in the fire, and they're walking around in the fire. In the story in the Bible, they're walking around, and there's big burning, and they just keep putting everything in and making this fire hotter and hotter. For 3 days, they walked around in this fire, and they keep going like this to their clothes and their hair, and wondering why they didn't get burned. And then finally, Herod got really mad, told them to put the fire out. So they take the three guys, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. It could be a different name, I can't remember. But he says, bring them to me. So the guards get these three guys from the fire, bring them to him, and he's sitting there, and he's looking at the guards, and he's like, where's the fourth guy? And they said, what? Where's the fourth guy? And they're all like, there was no fourth guy. It was the angel that God sent there that protected them, that wouldn't allow them to be burned in the fire.
oh, so beautiful.
And
Mm,
there's these kinds of magics. When you really believe in the universe and you find these
yes,
answers and you believe in them, God could do really lots. And like I say, no matter how thin these things get, God's always going to help us to have this knowledge and information to help one another. And they can't stop it no matter what they do.
they can't stop it. Uh, this is amazing, Joe. And I want to say that you're making on the channel of Heal and Learn, it's written here, but I'll place links. You're making these amazing meditations, which I couldn't attend. We have huge time difference. And for me, it's not always easy, but I'll try in the future because what I saw is very, very nice. You are meditating and then you're channeling information for each other, like really
Mhm.
useful information. So whoever wants to attend, people can follow the links that I'm going to place under this video. I also want to say, Joe, that many people who come to me with certain melancholy, or who have some issues and complaints, and who feel that they have been cursed or bewitched, or who need their energies to be cleared up, I'm always sending to Joe, and these people are thanking me. I also had I also know that you made this for me, and the clear thing, clearing, how you say, how you call this,
I
um,
just call it clearing.
clearing, yes, and it was wonderful and helped me. So I really recommend people to contact you who have such issues like melancholy. I hate the modern word depression, it's very inappropriate, but who feel they need to find themselves, let's say. Then they can really, I'll place your contacts, because whoever I've been sending to you, people would write me and thank me because they felt very, very well. um, so because you have this, even now when we spoke, it's like I had this clearing session with you, and you helped me realizing that if we uh, love, if we are connected to the universe, if we have unconditional love to God and the universe, nothing can be on the way, right, Joe?
Exactly. And that is something that, like I say, is I've lived by that all my life, is that belief. And part of the meditation is I use my ego feather in the smoke, because I believe there's no distance anywhere. So
No.
I ask blessings and I ask good spirits and good things. And whatever is burdening you, the universe will take away and release. Whatever new needs to come in will now open up for your home, your family, whatever you need for the future, it will come, and whatever changes. And that's why I say clearing. It's like your bedroom is really messy in that, and you need to clean it up. So eventually you clean it up, it all gets cleared. It all, now you got new energy, good things. Now you could bring more good things in and everything. So I just call it clearing, because in our lifetimes we've had many thousands of different lifetimes, and there's energy. Sometimes when we're born, we bring in, that's a challenge. Sometimes people, they right away from when they're born, they're sick all their lives, but it's from other lifetimes. And sometimes that energy is stuck in the chakras in the back, because the back chakras are all about your past. So every time we
Oh
get hurt,
yeah.
we move past, that energy gets stuck in one of them back here. So sometimes when we get afraid, it opens, and then we get scared and we attract that thing until we're not afraid of it anymore. And this is how the chakras work. They're like magnets. If you're
Oh,
afraid of something, it's going to attract it until you're not afraid anymore. So part of the whole thing is I try to help people understand is need to clear, need to find a way. And you have angels and spirits that know what need to all get cleared out and changed. And then they put all the good, positive, new energy to attract more positive, happy, good things. Your whole front chakras are what you programmed when you were born for this life, right up to the very last day and second of your life. You program that, so they're like magnets. They attract people. It's like somewhere in your life, in when you decided to born, that one day you would do astrology from me, and you attracted me into your life, and then we
yes.
ended up meeting and becoming friends. And
Yes.
so that chakra opened, and then I found you, and then that one day I asked you to do my chart.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
and all these things are there. So your front chakras are always trying to bring good things to you. Back chakras, they have all fearful things. So in these clearings is basically when I do this, I say prayers and I ask the spirits in the earth and all your angels and your ancestors to come in, because they have ways to help you. And sometimes we forget, and sometimes we need to find somebody that can do that for us. And it brings in good things that really open the doorways and bring happy changes and good things.
That's
So
so wonderful.
I love doing this.
And this is so wonderful, and I want then already to tell you that we may, if you accept, we may make exactly in the, with this particular topic another conversation video exactly for this, how people can help themselves with this knowledge, with knowledge of the chakras, and the knowledge that you just only mentioned, but it's a lot still to tell. And we can explain what these clearings do and how people can help themselves.
Yes. Because more you understand how to do this, the more you can allow yourself to trust and invite that change. Because the more you trust in the universe, the more it's going to do everything. Like when you were a baby, you just trusted the universe, and the universe made sure your parents had a roof over your head. They loved you. They changed your clothes. They fed you. They did everything, and you didn't understand. You didn't even think of praying or telling God, "Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that," or anything. You just grew up, and then one day you start realizing all this other stuff. And but when we really trust in the Bible, one of the things Joshua ben Joseph would say was, he says, if you want to know things, he says, see through the eyes of an innocent child.
Oh yeah.
And when we were children, we were very innocent. We saw and knew everything. And if you really go inside and you meditate and you sit inside and you just start seeing and you just start trusting and you just start understanding the creator, and the creator will always help you all the time.
Oh yes, thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Tell me, when is the next meditation, so that so that people know, and I can place link under this video. When are you planning to do the next meditation on the channel of Zorina Heal and Learn? Where is it planned to happen?
We usually always try and have it on a Wednesday,
On a
11
Wednesday.
o'clock our time in BC. And
All
it's
right.
different times around the world. I think Zarina has it. And when you go to her site,
I'll
You
place the
have to
link.
do it.
I saw it somewhere. Yes, I'll find it and I'll place so that people can find it. One of the reasons why I didn't want to join last time is because it was the eclipse. I was saying, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this during the eclipse. But still, you were very brave to do meditation during the eclipse. Was it
Yeah.
successful? Did the eclipse, in a way, interfere your channeling, or what was the feeling? Because I had a friend. She in Saudi Arabia. She went to make a video on the eclipse, and she had, because she witnessed the eclipse, she sent me the video. It was very scary red image of the moon, and then she said, suddenly when I was looking at the eclipse, I was crying and I felt sorrow and I felt grief without any reason, just like that. So the eclipses are obviously not very auspicious events. How did you feel to do meditation during eclipse? It's very interesting.
With the eclipse, I prayed for a couple of days that whatever we were doing, we are going to invite and bring good things in. So I always ask for the light. I always ask for the creative force and anything that's good and positive. And I felt it brought really big things. I felt the energies coming in really strong for everybody. And even a lady that's in the States, she felt the energy really strong come into her home, even though she's in the States. She's like, she felt all these things and it was very powerful for her. And she even said that when she does these meditations, the energy and things, and she just knows there's something really big in it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I know some of the energies that come in. It's going to take a while before people realize how much changes it actually brings. Even with my clearings, some of the clearings I do, it could be up to a year that changes go on with people.
Oh
I
yeah, you
never
don't feel.
know.
That's my experience with your clearings. You don't experience them straight away. It takes a while.
Yes. And
Yes, I
it's
know.
like when I went to the Sundance, when I was at the Sundance, I said prayers for you and your family. I also said prayers for
Thank
Zarina
you,
and
Joe.
other people.
Thank you, Joe. Yes.
And when we did the night lodge and the shaking tent and some of these other ceremonies, I also said prayers because there's all kinds of beings there. And if we don't know what they are, we can't connect. So sometimes somebody else says that prayer will bring something in, and then it's like, oh, there's something really good right here. But the meditations, yeah, it brought really lots of good. They're telling me that lady when she did the eclipse, uh, they allowed her to feel everything on the energy, on the earth. And
Oh,
she
all right.
felt the sorrows and the sadness and everything because she opened up and there was something inside her she wanted to feel or learn. So the creator allowed her to feel the whole planet and what was going on.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Joe. Thank you,
Mhm.
Joe. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful conversation. And let's talk soon about health issues and chakras and the way you do the clearing, and to teach people nice um, some nice methods if you want to go, so that they can help themselves, so they can uplift their energies. So we talk soon then again. Thank you very much,
Yes,
Joe.
we will.